Joel had never stepped foot on African soil, not once in his entire life. Born and raised in the cold suburbs of Connecticut, he had lived most of his life between prep schools, his father's marble-floored mansion, and ski resorts in Switzerland. Africa, for him, was just a word, a place that existed only in stories. His father would talk about it during dinner, how the sunsets there were unlike any other, how the people were warm and full of life, and how their family still had deep roots in a certain village, far from the cities. But Joel never cared. His mother was American, who, when she died, giving birth to him. So when Chief Frank, his father, the respected millionaire businessman and global philanthropist, told him they were flying to Nigeria for a short vacation, Joel protested, loudly. But he was 25 now, and this time his father didn't ask. He ordered, and now here they were. They arrived at the village just past 4 in the afternoon. The roads leading in were lined with palm trees, dusty red sand, and curious children who ran barefoot beside their car, waving and shouting with joy. Joel had never seen anything like it. He kept his AirPods in and stared at his phone, pretending he wasn't impressed. But deep down, he felt something. A shift, like the air itself carried stories his blood recognized, but his mind had forgotten. Chief Frank's arrival was a festival on its own. Word had spread days before, and the villagers had gathered like it was Christmas and New Year combined. There was singing, dancing, drumming, and trays of jollof rice, roasted goat, palm wine, and fried plantains laid out like a royal banquet. Frank's compound was large, built like a palace, sitting in the heart of the village. Dozens of relatives were already gathered inside and outside the mansion. Everyone wanted to see the man who had left decades ago with nothing but a bag of clothes and returned every year with trucks of gifts, scholarship money, and food. And today, they wanted to see his only son, Joel. The village people had heard so much about him. "The boy is tall, like his father. I heard he doesn't speak Igbo. They say he studied in America and drives a sports car." Joel didn't like the attention, not the drums, not the dancing. He just wanted to disappear into his room, blast music, and wait for this trip to be over. Inside the compound, the party continued. Children ran around, chasing each other. A small boy, no older than 7, heard that Chief Frank was in town and was giving children money and food. The boy had been playing football barefoot near the stream when another kid told him. Without thinking, he sprinted like his life depended on it. His name was Samto, and he lived with his grandmother on the edge of the village. He was hungry. Always was. His stomach had been growling for hours, and the mention of food and money made his legs fly. When he got to the compound, most of the crowd had left. The music had softened. Only a few guests remained, and the large gate was half closed. He squeezed through and ran toward the main house. But as he passed the wide veranda, he didn't see the figure sitting on the low fence. Joel, legs stretched out, face buried in his phone. The small boy's heel grazed Joel's shin. Just barely. Joel jumped up like he'd been electrocuted. "Are you mad?" he shouted. The boy froze, confused. Joel grabbed the child by his shirt, pulled him back, and slapped him hard across the face. "You dirty thing!" he spat. "How dare you touch me!" Samto fell to the ground, more shocked than hurt. His lower lip trembled, and then he burst into tears. Loud, wailing sobs that echoed across the compound. That was when Chief Frank came out of the house holding a bottle of water. He saw the scene and his heart stopped. "What happened here?" he thundered. Joel just rolled his eyes and turned away. "He stepped on me," he mumbled. "I dealt with it." Chief Frank's face darkened. "You slapped a child for that? A child that didn't even mean it?" Joel said nothing. "Apologize," Frank ordered. Joel scoffed. "For what?" "Joel, no!" Without another word, Joel turned and walked back into the house, slamming the door behind him. The village fell quiet. The boy's grandmother rushed in, scooped him up, and carried him away. Chief Frank stood there, speechless, embarrassed. Joel sat on his bed that night, staring at the ceiling. He didn't feel guilty, not even a little. In his mind, the boy had disrespected him. These people didn't know boundaries. They didn't understand space. The morning sun was bright, and the sky looked like a big blue plate. Birds flew around singing loud songs as people in the village started their day. "Joel is back. Did you hear? Chief Frank's son is here. He's very tall." They say he looks like a movie star. He came from America." The whole village was talking. Everyone. Even the goats seemed to walk slower like they were part of the news. At Chief Frank's house, there was already a long line of visitors. Women came with fake smiles and sweet voices. "Good morning, sir. Do you need someone to fetch firewood? Can I help sweep the compound? I can wash clothes. I'm very fast." But the truth was simple. They didn't want to work. They just wanted to see Joel, talk to him, maybe, just maybe, make him smile. But Joel didn't smile. He didn't even look at them. He stayed inside most of the time, sitting in his room, tapping his phone or staring out the window like he was trapped in a place he didn't belong. He was already counting the days till he could leave. Later that evening, after a long and boring day, Joel walked into the sitting room where his father, Chief Frank, was talking with some uncles. "I want to go out," Joel said quietly. Chief Frank looked up. "To where?" "Just around. I want to see the village." Chief Frank smiled. "Good. Ibuka and Chuka will take you." Joel shook his head. "No, I want to go alone." One of the uncles coughed. "It's not safe. He doesn't know these roads." But Joel didn't listen. He looked his father in the eyes. "I'll be fine." After a long pause, Chief Frank nodded. "All right, but don't stay out late." Joel left the compound and stepped into the red sand road. The village looked different now. The sun was going down and the shadows were long. Children were still playing. Some chased old tires. Some drew games in the sand. As Joel walked, people whispered again. "That's him! He looks angry. Don't go too close-o." He reached the village square. It was wide and open with a few trees and benches. Boys played football with a flat ball. Some women sold roasted corn and groundnuts, but most of the girls, especially the young ones, ran toward him. "Hi, Joel! You're so fine!" Joel didn't answer. He didn't even look. He brought out his phone and started taking pictures. He snapped the sunset, the square, even the palm trees. But then he stopped. Because he saw something. No, he saw someone. Under the shade of a big neem tree, a girl sat with another girl. The girl had neat braids tied with thread. She wore a simple dress and had beads on her wrist. Her fingers moved quickly, parting and plaiting the girl's hair. Joel raised his phone. The camera flashed. The girl looked up. Their eyes met. But something strange happened. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She didn't even say hi. She just looked at him like he was a stranger on the road, then went back to her hair plaiting like nothing had happened. Joel froze for a second. Every girl so far had tried to get his attention. But this one? She didn't even care. He took one last look at her and walked away. As Joel walked down a narrow path, the air became cooler. The road was quiet. The trees stood tall and thick, blocking the light. He had walked far from the square. Now it was just him and the bushes. His phone buzzed, but there was no signal. Suddenly he felt pressure in his stomach. "I need to pee," he muttered. He looked around. There were no houses nearby. Then he saw a small hut. It was very strange, old, tiny, with sticks and feathers hanging from the roof. A clay pot sat in front of it. Joel didn't care. He just walked closer and stood beside it. He was about to unzip his trousers when, "Stop!" A sharp voice cut through the air like a knife. Joel jumped. An old woman stood at the road's edge, holding a basket of firewood. Her eyes were wide. Her voice was strong. "Don't urinate there, boy." Joel frowned. "Why?" "That is a sacred place," she shouted. "It belongs to the gods. You must not touch it." Joel rolled his eyes. "I don't care." "Don't say that," the old woman warned. "It's a serious thing." But Joel had already turned around and began to pee. When he was done, he zipped up and walked away without saying a word. The next morning, Chief Frank woke up early as always. Some of their relatives had already come in to greet him. 2 aunts were in the kitchen making yam porridge. An uncle was in the sitting room reading a newspaper. Everyone was talking, smiling, laughing. But one thing was odd. Joel hadn't come out of his room. Chief Frank looked at the clock. It was 10 o'clock. "Joel is still sleeping?" he asked, looking surprised. "Yes, sir," one cousin replied. "I passed by his room earlier. It was quiet." "He's been sleeping too much since we came," Chief Frank said, frowning. "Ibuka. Go and call him." Ibuka was a teenage boy, short and slim, about 16 years old. He stood up and walked down the long hallway that led to Joel's room. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. He knocked on Joel's door softly. "Brother Joel? Good morning, sir. Daddy says you should come out." No answer. He knocked again, this time louder. "Brother Joel?" Still nothing. Ibuka's face started to change. He looked behind him, then stepped closer to the door. He knocked a third time. No sound, no movement. He placed his ear gently on the door and listened. Nothing. His heart started beating fast. He was about to turn and leave when suddenly, "Creak!" The door opened. Ibuka stepped back fast. "Brother Joel!" And then, slowly, the door opened wider. Joel stood there, but something was wrong. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't angry either. He looked pale, like someone who had just seen something very, very scary. His eyes were wide, his hands were shaking. Ibuka's mouth opened a little. "Are you okay?" Joel didn't answer for a few seconds. Then he whispered, "Tell my dad. Tell him to come, now." Ibuka didn't ask questions. He turned and ran back to the sitting room like his feet were on fire. "Uncle Frank! Uncle Frank! Come quick! Something is wrong with Joel!" Chief Frank jumped up from his chair. "What? What do you mean?" "He said I should call you. He looks very strange." Chief Frank didn't waste time. He ran faster than he had in years. He pushed past the chairs, through the hallway, and reached Joel's door. He pushed it open fully, and what he saw froze him in place. Joel was standing in the middle of the room. His wrapper was loose around his waist. His chest was rising and falling fast like he had been running. His eyes were full of fear. Tears were rolling down his face. "Joel," Chief Frank said softly, stepping closer. "What is it?" Joel looked at him. Then he whispered something no father ever wants to hear. "Dad? Something is missing." "What?" Chief Frank asked. Joel's hands trembled. He pointed down. Chief Frank looked, and then his heart stopped. He blinked, looked again. His mouth opened slowly. There was nothing there. Joel's private part was gone. Gone. No cut, no blood, no sign it had ever been there. Just smooth, empty skin. Joel fell to the floor and screamed. A scream that shook the walls. A scream that made even the housegirl in the kitchen drop her spoon. The scream that told everyone that something terrible had just happened. Within seconds, the whole house was in a panic. Relatives rushed to the room. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even neighbors started coming in. "What is going on? Why is Joel shouting? Did someone attack him?" Chief Frank stood still, not blinking. He was trying to understand, but he couldn't. Nothing made sense. Joel was on the floor, crying like a baby. He held his wrapper tightly around his waist. His teeth were shaking. His whole body was wet with sweat. The room was full now. People gasped. Some covered their mouths. Some stepped back slowly. One auntie fell on the floor and started praying. "Jesus, Jesus, this is not ordinary. This is not ordinary." One uncle looked around, confused. "Did he fall? Was it an accident?" "No," Joel cried. "I woke up and it was gone. Just gone." Chief Frank knelt beside his son. His strong hands held Joel's shoulders. "My son," he said with tears in his eyes. "Tell me everything. Everything you remember. What happened?" Joel looked into his father's eyes. "I went for a walk last night. I didn't tell you. I went to the village square. Then I followed a narrow path. I felt pressed. I saw a small hut." The room fell silent. Everyone listened. "I didn't know it was a shrine," Joel said, his voice breaking. "I just wanted to pee. An old woman shouted. She told me to stop. She said it was a sacred place. But I didn't listen. I said I didn't care." People began to murmur. An elder shook his head. "Ha! He peed on the shrine? God have mercy." Another whispered. Chief Frank stood up and turned to the crowd. "Get the priest. Now. Call the chief priest. This is beyond us." A boy ran out of the house, his feet kicking up dust as he dashed to the priest's house. The village priest arrived before sunset. He wore a long red robe and his beard was gray like old cotton. His eyes were sharp and his steps were slow but firm. He listened to everything Joel had done. He said nothing for a while. Then he nodded slowly and spoke in a calm, deep voice. "This is not a small matter," the priest said. "The gods have taken what belongs to him because he disrespected them." "Is there any hope?" Chief Frank asked, his voice shaking. "Yes," the priest said, "but he must suffer for what he did. He must show true sorrow, and he must pay the price." The priest gave a list: a white goat, 7 kola nuts, palm oil, a basket of fresh leaves from the sacred tree, and most of all, Joel must sleep beside the shrine he urinated on. "Not one night, not 2, but 4 nights, the priest said. The whole room gasped. "In the bush, alone?" one auntie asked. The priest nodded. "He must show that he is sorry. He must face the spirits. No food from the city, no bottled water, only things from the land. If he can do that, the gods may forgive him." Joel had no choice. He agreed. The next morning they gathered everything. The goat cried as they tied it near the shrine. The cola nuts were washed. The oil was placed in a calabash. When the sun set, Joel stood at the edge of the forest. His body was shaking. He wore only a wrapper. He held a mat in one hand and a small clay cup in the other. Chief Frank hugged him. "Be strong, my son. You will survive this." Joel nodded. Then he walked toward the shrine. The first night was cold, very cold. He didn't sleep. The second night was worse. He saw shadows. He heard voices. The wind kept whispering his name. The third night it rained. His mat was soaked. His wrapper stuck to his skin. He cried all night. But the fourth night something changed. He saw a bright light around the shrine. The wind stopped. The trees became still. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Please, I am sorry." In the morning, the priest came. Joel stood up slowly. His body was weak. His eyes were tired. The priest smiled. "It is done," he said. "Go home, boy." Joel walked home. He had survived. Later that day, something strange happened. His manhood returned. Just like that. Everyone rejoiced. The whole house clapped. Chief Frank cried. But the joy didn't last long. Joel sat in his room, alone. At first he was happy. He smiled, he laughed. But later, when he tried to use the toilet, he noticed something was wrong. He touched himself. His body was there, but it didn't work. No matter what he did, it didn't move. It didn't rise. It didn't feel. He tried again the next day. Still nothing. He told his father in secret. Chief Frank called the priest again. The priest came and gave him more herbs. He told him to rest, to wait. But days passed. Nothing changed. Joel became sad again. He stopped eating. He stayed in his room all day. Maybe the gods are still angry, he thought. He didn't tell anyone else. But one morning a voice came from the gate. It was soft, calm. "Good morning. My name is Joy." Everyone turned. It was the girl who was plaiting hair that day in the village square. The girl who didn't smile at Joel. The girl who didn't giggle like the rest. "What do you want, my dear?" one auntie asked. "I heard Joel is not well," Joy said. "I want to pray for him." The house was silent. "Pray?" Chief Frank asked. "You're a priest?" "No," she said, "but I know how to pray, and my heart is clean." Chief Frank looked at Joel. Joel looked at Joy. For the first time in days, Joel spoke. "Let her in." That evening, Joy came into Joel's room. She wore a simple dress. Joel sat on the bed, quiet. Joy stood in the center of the room. She closed her eyes and spoke softly. "God of heaven, God of the earth, you made this boy. You love him. He has made mistakes, but we all make mistakes. Heal him, please." She prayed for 1 hour. Her voice never shook. Joel felt something, a warm air, a peace he had never known. After the prayer, she placed her hand on his shoulder. "You are healed," she said. Then she walked out. That night, Joel slept like a baby, for the first time in weeks. In the morning, he woke up, stretched, and felt something move. His heart jumped. He looked down. It was working. He screamed with joy. He ran outside, laughing. "I'm okay! I'm okay!" Chief Frank shouted with happiness. The whole family danced. After that day, Joel didn't stop thinking about Joy. He asked her to come back. She did. They sat under the mango tree and talked. At first, they talked about the shrine, about the gods, about the village. Then they talked about life, and dreams, and pain. Joel told her about his mother, about America, about feeling empty. Joy told him about growing up poor, about raising her sister, about learning to trust God. They talked every day. Joel smiled more. He laughed again. One day he asked her, "Do you ever get tired of me talking?" Joy laughed. "No, your voice is not as proud as it used to be." Joel grinned. You didn't smile at me that day in the square. Joy looked at him. You didn't deserve it. They both laughed. And from that day, something grew. A friendship, a fire, a love. Joel didn't wait long. One evening he stood up during dinner. "Daddy," he said, "I want to marry Joy." Chief Frank dropped his spoon. The whole family shouted with joy. The news went around the village like fire. "Joel wants to marry Joy. Ah, this is sweet love." Everyone prepared. The compound was cleaned, the goats were killed, the drums were brought out. On the wedding day, the sun was soft in the sky, not hot, not cold. Joy wore a white dress, simple, beautiful. Joel wore a white shirt and wrapper. His smile was brighter than the sun. They stood under the old mango tree, the same place where they talked for hours, and they said, "I do." People clapped, some cried. Joel kissed Joy gently. Joel became a better man.